Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I'm Dana White. I blog over at aslobcomesclean.com. That's where I share my personal deslobification process. As I figure out ways to keep my own home under control, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually work in real life for real people who don't necessarily love cleaning and organizing. I'm also the author of the book, How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, which is the guide, the handbook for you to get your own home under control. And it's based on all those reality-based cleaning and organizing strategies that I have created and developed and proven again and again over the last 7 years on the blog. So you can get that wherever books are sold, or go to aslobcomesclean.com/book, and that will take you to a place where you can find all the links to where you can buy it. This is podcast number 117, and we are talking about organizing products that actually work. I know, right? I don't usually talk about organizing products because, I'm much more about decluttering, but there are some things that make my life easier. So I thought, hey, I will talk about that. What got me thinking about this was a question from one of you who had asked about a solution for organizing your husband's ties. Yes. If your husband wears ties, or if you wear ties, it can be, kind of overwhelmed. My husband wears ties. He actually has, this is pretty bad. He has a collection of Christmas ties specifically that are enough for him to wear a different Christmas tie every day of December. Let's all just let that sink in. But you know what? For some people, that would be clutter if they didn't actually wear Christmas ties. But because he does wear that many Christmas ties, then, it's not clutter if you use it. That's my philosophy. So as long as he does that. But what is key there is the one in, one out, which is really hard because people give him Christmas ties because he wears them. And so they will give them to him as gifts. And then, at some point, there are only so many days in December. I think he actually starts wearing them the Monday after Thanksgiving. Anyway, but that is, we do. We have plenty of ties in this house. And so what we've actually used is a scarf hanger. And the one that we have, I looked really quickly on Amazon to see if I could find it. But the one that we have is actually plastic, and I'll keep looking to try to find one. But it's plastic and it's flat and it just has holes in it. So the holes are really smooth. So there's nothing for anything to snag on. But that's what we end up using instead of a tie hanger. I've had tie racks and things like that, where you kind of had to adjust it and put it over there and make it neat and everything on this little rack. And that did not work for us at all. But this scarf hanger has worked for years and years and years. I mean, he's been using that same thing. And it probably has 20 holes in it. And each hole, he has more than one tie in it. Seems like for some reason he puts away his Christmas ties during the year and then just pulls them out. But I'm not sure about that, but whatever. Anyway, this tie hanger is the ideal thing that we have that has really worked for us. I mean, the scarf hanger. Okay. And I think it technically is called a scarf hanger. What I use for my scarves is actually a towel hanger in my closet. I think it was, what is that? Home Interiors. I had bought it one time and I really loved the idea of it. I never really had a place that it worked in my actual bathroom after I moved to this house. So I just hung it up one day randomly in my closet and it has turned into a great scarf hanger for me. Not that I wear scarves that much because, I don't know. I can't have anything around my neck. Anyway, so that is one thing that works really well for us. Other things that have worked really well as far as products. Now, before I keep going into this, I just want to go back to what I briefly mentioned at the beginning, and that is I don't generally push organizing products. And the reason I don't generally push organizing products is that organizing products, I used to believe, like with all my heart, that if I could just find the right product, my house would be clean and neat for the rest of my life. Like I really thought, I was the person, I would see the infomercials and they would say, oh, I bought this. And then suddenly my closet was perfect for the rest of my life. And I believed it. I mean, I was just like, yes, maybe that's it. Well, I would buy things and then my house would still be completely messy. And I would then later become more and more skeptical about every, life-changing, problem-solving, organizing product I ever saw. And I would think, oh, great. This is nothing's ever going to work for me. And so I kind of have gone away from just randomly buying things, hoping that it's going to solve all my problems. But there is value when something really does make your life easier and makes it easier to keep things under control and keep the house organized. Those things are good to know about. So that's what I'm talking about here today. But just so you know, you can be so much better off in your home without any of the things that I'm going to talk about. Like you don't need any of them. And don't forget too that my biggest thing that I encourage people to do is to not worry about getting organized, to not worry about, going and buying things and finding whatever containers and blah, blah. Just declutter. Just pull out whatever space it is that you're working on. Just pull out the things that you don't need. And as you do that, the space is going to feel more organized. Okay. And as you live with that space, it's so much easier to live with because there's not all of the stuff you don't need combined in with the stuff that you do need. So you're just able to reach in and get what you need. And over time, what I find is I am then able to find an organizing solution that actually works. After I've lived with a space under my bathroom counter that only has the stuff we actually need, over time, I go, what would really help here? If I had a container right about this certain size and I put it right here, that would really help me. But I know for sure what's going to work because I've lived with just what I needed for a long period of time. Okay. So that has been what changed things for me. Not buying the right things, but just decluttering, getting stuff out of my house, focusing on routines. All of those things can be found in great detail and instructional form in How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, available wherever books are sold. But anyway, that's the key. But like I said, organizing products that actually have helped me. Another thing that I absolutely adore, and I know some people cannot stand them. I think it's a texture issue for some people. Velvet hangers. It's a new thing. They are not the most sturdy ones in the world. The ones that I have found, I have had several that have broken. The little hanger part comes off of the little hook part comes off of the hanger itself. But I am telling you, I love those velvet hangers so much. And here's why. I'm a yanker. I pull things off of hangers without gently removing the hanger from the bar and then carefully taking the item off of the hanger and then putting the hanger back where, that just doesn't happen in my world. Okay. I just reach up there and I pull on it until it comes off. Well, the velvet hangers, for one thing, kind of keep me from doing that. Okay. It's not as easy for me to just yank and pull. But the other thing, yes, it keeps me from doing that. But these velvet hangers keep things from slipping off. So, there's wire hangers, which everybody knows are just horrible, right? Whatever, even though I totally use them on my kids' clothes. But wire hangers, there's plastic hangers, there's wooden hangers, there's all this. The velvet hangers keep anything from sliding off of the hanger. And here's the problem. It's not the item that I'm yanking, it's the items around it that also get pulled off of the hanger because of whatever they were next to and then end up just sitting on the floor or hanging halfway off or whatever. But when I have the velvet hanger, nothing slips off of the hanger. It just holds it. I don't really know. Yes, some people don't like the texture of that. And I totally understand that because I'm a texture person too. But I can put a tank top on there without having to hook it into the little places, on the little hooks on the certain kinds of hangers, or find one of my hangers that actually has those hooks on it. And instead, anything, slippery things, a lot of stuff that's in style is very slippery. Or if it has a wider neck, I don't like things around my neck. So I have things that have a V-neck or a wider neck that are just really hard to keep on a regular hanger, a plastic hanger. Much less the person who yanks the thing next to it and everything around it falls to the ground as well. Those velvet hangers just naturally keep things on the hanger so much easier. So I love it. Another thing that I've done is used those hangers because they are more expensive and I don't have an endless supply of them from a lifetime of collecting them like I do my other kinds of hangers, is it helps me look at my closet and say, what's hanger worthy? If I bring a box of 30 home, I think Costco often has them on sale, and I think they come in a box of 30. If I bring a box of 30 home, well, it's kind of a really easy, obvious way for me to, choose my top 30 items of clothing, because those are the ones that I want to use first. Or the natural thing of, as things come out of the dryer, having my new set of velvet hangers sitting there. And as things come out of the dryer, I hang them on the velvet hangers, and then the velvet hangers are showing which ones I actually wear all the time. Which ones do we use consistently over and over? That's how that whole laundry day helps with decluttering. That whole routine leads to decluttering thing. Okay. All right, so velvet hangers, one of my biggest things. A skinny wheeled rack. I'm super at these descriptions, aren't I? What I mean by that is I've used it in multiple different houses, like our house that we used to have, a rent house that we lived in, this house. It's an extra skinny rack, like a wheeled laundry supplies. I put different laundry supplies on there, but it's only like maybe 6 inches wide. And so, it's just an extra small little thing that can fit into tight little places, like between my washer and dryer, or in our house that we used to have. I didn't have a laundry room, but I had, it could fit into the little space between the wall and the dryer that I had. So just looking for that extra skinny wheeled rack. You can pretty much get them anywhere. I think I had one at one time, and for some reason it got lost in moving. I bought another one at Walmart or wherever. I mean, they're very easy to find. Over the door hooks. You can get these at the Dollar Tree. I've had some from the Dollar Tree, which those of you who don't live in a place with a Dollar Tree, they used to call them Everything's a Dollar. There used to be a store called Everything's a Dollar, which is more descriptive, meaning every single thing in the entire store is $1. And which means it's just such high quality stuff. But these plastic over the door hooks, I mean, they don't require any kind of nailing in or using tools or anything. I mean, it's just slips over the door, and then it's narrow enough or, slim enough on top that you close the door and it doesn't matter. It's just there. These over the door hooks are great for kids' bathrooms. My bathroom, my husband and I each have one on our closet. I actually found one in my guest bathroom that my mother had brought for when she came to visit. She just brought one and put one in there for herself. Anyway, but they're great for hanging towels up. Not as much for shorter people who can't reach all that way, but they're, are hooks, command hooks and things like that you can use for that. But they're great because they just, anything that requires screwing something into the wall, I don't ever do that right. If something's going to hang on that and then it ends up falling out of the wall or breaking or whatever, these just slip over the top of the door, and it's amazing what you can do with that. We've got one in my daughter's room for her robe, things like that. I mean, it's a really extremely useful thing that is so low cost. And my reason for saying I got these at the Dollar Tree is that they're a $1 item that has lasted me. I've probably had those up there 4 or 5 years. And, my husband actually remembers to put his towel on it every single time, and it lasts. Okay. I called this, I'm not sure what they're called, but I called it cabinet staircases. That's not what I really mean. Here's what it is. They have these in different, you can just look these up anywhere. I will link to these things on Amazon through my affiliate link. So if you get the podcast email, you're getting that. If you get, or you can go to, aslobcomesclean.com/podcasts with an S, go to podcast number 117, and all these will be linked there. So you can find the ones I'm talking about. But a cabinet staircase, what I mean by that is, okay, you have a pantry that has, you're putting all of your canned goods in. Well, half the time it's really hard to see what's in the back. Okay. And I know that there are little can systems that, spit out the whatever cans. You can put them all in there and they'll spit out the most, the one that's been in there the longest. You know what I'm talking about? Those little rolly rack things. Those don't work for me because it requires all this, organizing and putting things in the exact right place in the exact right way. What has worked really well for me, and my mom came up with this or found these for me, is it's like a little plastic staircase. And so you have the same amount of depth in that cabinet as far as how many cans you can stack backwards, cans, whatever, spaghetti sauces, however much you want to put in there. But you can stack as the same number, but what it is you have this plastic thing that looks like stairs. And so it is giving you, the first row that you have closest to you. I feel like I'm describing things that are so much easier to say in a picture. But anyway, that first row of canned goods that you have is on the actual shelf itself in the pantry. Well, then you have this product in there that looks like stairs. And so the next one is on the first stair of this little product. And so you can see it above. You can see what things are above the one in front of it. And then the next one is higher than that. And the next one is higher than that. And even though I don't have a huge pantry, I don't have huge pantry shelves, I'm so much more able to see what's in there because I have this little staircase that just slides right in there. And they actually, the one that I have, is adjustable for width. And so, it can work in a small one, or I just slide it out so that it goes across the entire shelf. That is one of my absolute favorite pantry organizing products. If it's not visible to me, then it doesn't even exist. And it ends up, going to waste because it expires or I end up, pulling through and rifling through and pulling things out of the cabinet, and then they end up not going back in there, whatever. It just makes such a huge difference for me to be able to see that. So I will link to that in the show notes. Another thing that has been just one of the best things for my pantry is an over-the-door shelving unit. I believe I got mine at the Container Store. I have seen them basically everywhere. But it was very easy to install. Yes, it did require a little bit of tools and things like that, but it did not require me drilling into my door. There's a little hook on the top and a hook on the bottom that attach these two rods that have little spaces where you can put the shelves in at whatever height that you want to. In my pantry, even though I have a door that completely closes and it is not a walk-in pantry, so it's just right there, this adds a whole new level, a whole extra shelving area in there. So they have little shelves, they're kind of like baskets actually, that are all the way across the distance of the door. And I can put canned goods in there. I can see everything that's in there. And then I close that. My mom used to have one, or she probably still does, I don't know, on her bathroom door. And that was where we would, that's where toothpaste and deodorant and all those kinds of bathroom things were. And so we knew when we ran out, we went and looked there. And that's one of those things I've been meaning to do because it's something that visually you don't see from inside the bedroom, but you know, it's there and it's just kind of space that already exists and it's really easy. So I get a lot of use out of that over the door shelving unit that goes on the back side of my pantry door and just adds a whole lot of space there. Shelf dividers. Another thing, you know, if you have shelving issues in your, you know, you feel like, oh, I just don't have enough space. You know, I'm not really big on adding space or whatever, but a shelf divider can be amazingly useful in keeping things neat. You know, so like if you have, let's say, kind of a tall cabinet for plates, but you have two different kinds of plates and you like to keep them together, and that just kind of makes, you know, the more you're shoving plates in to a stack, the more they're going to get chipped more easily, you know, so you want to be able to separate those out. Just a simple little shelf divider. That's another thing that you can easily find. I'll link to it on Amazon, but just, you know, any kind of storage, whatever, space, aisle at the store, they have these little shelf dividers, and it just basically turns one cabinet into a cabinet with an additional shelf, you know, so it makes it really, those are really good for keeping things under control better. Those are also things that I use, under bathroom cabinets, in the linen closet, in the pantry or kitchen cabinets. It just is a nice little thing to have. Also, let me see. How much time do I have left? I know. Yeah. So another thing, and this is something that is pretty ridiculously obvious. Like I'm like, well, I think probably everybody has this, but there was a time when I didn't. Just a quick little bathroom cleaning caddy. Those things are the greatest for when you have more than one bathroom in your house and you don't feel like having separate bathroom cleaning products, or maybe your kid's bathroom, you don't want those cleaning products anywhere in that bathroom at all. Having it in a nice little caddy that you can carry around to the different places in the house, that is so incredibly helpful. We have one of my favorite things that I got that we have used that has been great has been, it's a large laundry hamper, but it's on wheels. It's on wheels, y'all. I think Rubbermaid makes it, or maybe Sterilite. I'm not sure. But it is a wheeled thing. And so it has just like a suitcase that you would take to the airport where you pull up the handle. And so it makes it really easy just to wheel it through the house, you know, because my kids, that's their job. They sort the laundry on Sunday night. And so it's just so easy for them to not have to make those trips. They just pull that handle up and bring it in here. I love that wheeled laundry hamper. Is it beautiful and fashionable? No. Does it look perfectly fine? Yes, it does. And then sometimes thinking of, you know, things outside the box. We don't drink, but we have a wine rack that isn't, I mean, it's not like notched exactly for wine bottles, but that's what it is. It's this little thing. And I think my mom gave it to me to put a plant on or something at one point, probably at the same time as she brought that baker's rack back to me that I talked about in the book. Anyway, but this little thing, and I actually like it. I like where it is. But it's got all these little kind of shelves on the bottom, but they're shelves with, spaces, you know, it's like slats as shelves as opposed to, actually useful. You can put anything on it shelves. We just one time, you know, cause I buy paper towels in bulk on Amazon. I just one time was like, oh, I'm going to stick these in here. And that turned into our paper towel rack because we always need paper towels, you know, so kind of thinking outside the box. I would love to hear what kinds of organizing products or solutions have been like, yes, this actually really does work for me, because that's the thing. It has to work for me. I am not one to go out and buy a bunch of products and then actually have them all work. I'm the one who's usually most of the things I've purchased over the years, I ended up decluttering that thing in the end because it didn't really solve all my problems the way I thought it would. But I love, you know, hearing what things actually work for other people. Oh, wait, that'll be realistic for me. Yes, that really does work. You know, it's kind of like I had that shoe bench. If any of you have been around the blog for a while, you might remember it. It was this super cute. I'm telling you, it was so cute. It looked like a little telephone table, kind of that old fashioned style thing, where you sit down and there's a telephone next to it, or, where people would, a telephone bench. That's what it was, where people would, have this unique place to sit and talk on the telephone back when telephones had to be plugged into the wall. But that's what it looked like. And it had these neat little shelf things that would pull out, and they would have all these little slots to put shoes in. Well, I lived over in Thailand. I got used to never wearing shoes in the house, and they would all have neat things like that. And I bought that thinking, oh, this is going to take care of our shoes everywhere kind of a problem. And it didn't, because it required bending over, opening those little special shoe shelves, taking shoes off, touching them, putting them in those little slots, and then closing it up. And then once it was closed up, I never remembered that those shoes existed ever again. Neither did anybody in my family. And we were always like, whatever happened to those shoes? Well, I put them up for once. That's what happened. Anyway, so that was an organizing solution that I really, really hoped would work. It didn't work at all for me. I eventually went back to what I had done before, which I thought this shoe shelf bench was going to be such a better solution. But what worked better for me before was just this really sturdy silver 2-shelf, and then the floor itself becomes another shoe shelf, which is really just a shelf. But that I'd gotten at a garage sale years and years and years ago. That ended up being I went back to it because that was what actually worked, which is the only thing that matters, is what actually works in my house, not just what should work, but what actually does work. Okay. So I would love to hear from you on what kinds of organizing products have truly actually solved problems in a sustainable way in your home. So if you want to tweet that to me, that would be great. Or just send me a message or leave a comment on the podcast show notes or whatever you want to do. And also, if you would like to find out more about being a patron of this show, I love my patrons. If you would like to find out more about that, go to patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean. Just so you know, one of the perks of being a patron is a private secret Facebook group, which is a safe space for you to get support and give support from others who are in the same boat as you, kindred spirits. So anyway, go to patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean to find out more about how that works. Okay. Thanks for joining me today, and I will talk to you guys next week. All right. Bye.